everybody, and welcome back to Stir It Up with Sheena. So this week I thought, one of the latest Instagram trends is focaccia bread and a lot of flowers and other designs on it. So instead of that, I thought, why not make some creepy crawly spiders on top of the bread, and thought that might be a good idea. Now, focaccia bread traditionally is from Italy, and it's made out of all-purpose flour, uses yeast. It's one of the softest and tastiest and basic. The recipe can be altered to suit any taste. You can add olives, you can add cheese, Parmesan cheese, you can add any amount of herbs, and it is just a fantastic recipe. One of my favorite ways of eating this bread is just simply some olive oil, balsamic vinegar, and oregano, dried oregano in it, and I could just eat it, dipping it. That's it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do to make the bread today is always to activate the yeast or the bloom it. So I do this so that I know that, okay, it will work for sure. For that, you always put yeast in lukewarm water, not too hot because then the yeast will die, and not too cold because then the yeast won't get activated. And add a bit of sugar into the mixture so that the yeast feeds off the sugar and activates. You can use honey or sugar. I'm using white sugar today. So what I do is, because to make sure that it is not too hot or not too cold, I do like a half of hot boiling water and the other half cold. There we go. To this, I dissolve the sugar. Teaspoons. Just let the sugar dissolve a bit before I add the yeast. I'm using active dry yeast today because that's what I'm using. You could use instant yeast, but if you are using instant yeast, I'd suggest you reduce the amount a little bit, about 25% of what's asked, because the active yeast is more potent than dry yeast. A sachet of yeast is about 2 1/4 teaspoons. That's it. I'm not going to stir it, do nothing. I'm going to just let it rest till it starts bubbling up and blooms. So while the yeast is bubbling or blooming, I'm going to measure out my flour. I use the scoop and level method for this. So I'm going to use I've got my flour all measured out here, and now I'm going to use sea salt flakes. I like to use flakes because sometimes when you bite into the bread you get these little bits, but you can use regular sea salt too, not a problem. I guess you could just reduce the amount a bit, but you're free to add garlic, dried herbs, fresh herbs, olives, cheese, and it goes so well with it. I want a hint of garlic taste, so I'm going to use some garlic powder into this. Optional, completely up to you if you want to use it or not. And use some dried oregano and dried basil leaves. You can use dried. And you will need to use some good quality virgin oil, because as the oil is better, you'll get the flavor more in the bread, and it's yummy. Now, as you can see, the yeast is all bubbled up and risen up, and I have taken my olive oil also, and my flour with the salt is ready. I'm going to add all this and combine it to form the dough. We add the oil in first. And keep slowly adding the yeast mixture to the flour so it gets incorporated well. And I've added all the yeast mixture in, and now you can see that the dough is coming together. And let this keep going till you get a nice soft pliable dough. Together, see how it's sticking away from the pan. It's all formed a ball. That's when you know it's done, and you can take it off. And once you take the dough off, then sprinkle some. very soft and nice, pliable. Form it into a ball and then take some olive oil, put a bit of oil there, put a bit of oil on your hands, down, just give it a nice rub. Place it back to your dish. Close it and keep it for proofing. The first proofing, that is till it rises, becomes double. So about an hour's passed and I think my bread should be proofed by now, and yes it is, it's come up as you can see. So this is first proofing. So I'm going to just whack the bread. This is push out the air out of the bread, you do that. And then you add it on in. For focaccia bread, you need a flat baking tray with a bit of depth like these, because it's a flat bread. And I'm just going to oil it a bit, that's it. You're going to put the dough onto the tray and just keep using your fingers and try to keep getting them extended out. Okay, so I've pressed it and got it to fill the pan. If you want, it's much easier if you just roll it out a bit and then start pressing. The process easier on the hands. So once I've got it to fill out my pan, I'm going to let it rest for a couple of minutes, around 20 minutes. That's for the second proof before I put on my veggies or whatever it is you want to put on top of the focaccia bread. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil and give it a pressing again and fill up the bowl. And focaccia bread is supposed to have these finger markings on it because we keep doing this so that the oil gets in between the bread. Now we can decorate the bread with whatever vegetables, fruits and